And good day, and here we are live from the studios of Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. As you can see, it's a beautiful day. Hey, Aaron, good to see you. A number of people wanted to have me speak on Tesla and other things. And everything is connected. You know that thing, everyone's 8 degrees separation between you and Kevin Bacon. Well, everyone's like 2 degrees separation between you and Nikola Tesla. And thank you, man. I put two little snippets of where I was last night under the tarps. And those lights are solar powered. I have, years ago, I used to make solar panels, and I still have a few left. And, I got them hooked up to big, deep, tractor trailers. They have big batteries to turn those diesel motors. And when they kind of wear out to the point where they won't turn that engine over, they're still really great to hold a long, deep charge to run like little diode lights like those, right? And I get things every kind of after every holiday. After Christmas, I buy Christmas lights. After Halloween, I buy Halloween lights, and I make a little rectangle. They take no juice, so to stick it on a fire to knock their 110 to from 24 is not a big deal. So and all of that is Nikola Tesla, right? Now everyone remembers um, Thomas Alva Edison. And what he was basically a pirate. He stole everything, and he had the hidden hand behind him. He had Mr. Rothschild and Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. J.P. Morgan, and GE was started because J.P. Morgan precipitated Tesla was bringing on all this amazing technology in the 1890s, and everybody and his brother was picking it up, and because he in the 1890s, Tesla came from Serbia to first from Serbia to Western Europe, and he worked to suss out the Paris phone system. And that guy said, "You're amazing. Here's a letter problem getting everything to sync up. If you could figure that out, um, I'll give you $50,000," which is like $20 million today. And so they shook hands, and Tesla went off and did it. And then said, "Okay, I'd like my $50,000." And Edison said, "Oh, I was just joking." And he said, "But I'll give you a job, for $2 a week, and you can sleep under the desk there, and everything you design and invent, I own. You'll just be a slave." So Tesla said, "No, thanks." And he went on, and he then met Westinghouse, who really did appreciate it. And Westinghouse made a lot of money making a little gizmo for steam engines. And he understood the real value of Tesla and understood the value of alternating current, because DC, the way it's generated, that is direct current, right? It's just the thing is going, right? And so it causes great resistance. No matter how big a wire, you should see the wires in down Lower Manhattan off of the Pearl Street station. I used to live in the Pearl Street station. Years and years later, this real estate company I worked for bought the building and renovated the lofts, Pearl Street is just a block from Wall Street. Pearl Street runs kind of into Wall Street, and it runs right into the Wall Street and the Wall Street where they sell the stock exchange. Three times. Here's our experience. what life feels like. Your ego is just an illusion. Consequently, it's literally shattered. It's not ready. I thought it was. Yes, reality is not what you really think it was because it's all a big lie, you know? I was like, oh, wow, this is what life feels like. Right. You know, and it's all about vibrations. And that's kind of what Tesla understood, you know? And that's what, see, DC doesn't really vibrate, doesn't really oscillate. Whereas alternating current, because it alternates, right? And the way the polyphase alternating current system works is there are three coils, and they're 90 degrees off of each other. It's it's creating a torsion field, and the torsion field creates scalar y coordinates, right? And that's amplitude and frequency. 60 cycles. Oh, that's alternating current. 60 cycles. I mean, it goes on and off 60 times a second. But see, the thing is, what Tesla wanted to do with alternating current was not take the current off the meter, which is at the end of the coil. At the end of the stator, there is a field right here. It's called a torsion field, and it is the doorway to 0 point energy. So he discovered that, in the 1880s, unlimited current. And then he started fooling around with it in New York, and he started, he was a little too, he was doing it down on Hudson Street at Mohawk Electric, which I used to live in his lab. He was dealing with all of these different frequencies, right? And he was creating them in the ether. And so he was just fooling around with it. When I made my first coil, and knocked out the whole neighborhood and burned the heck out of my hands. He was doing the same thing, but he was a little more knowledgeable than I was at 6. And so he nearly caused Lower Manhattan to turn into gray goo. Everything started to vibrate, and all the atoms started to come apart. And a number of the policemen who knew who he was ran into, "What are you doing, man? It's going nuts." So he turned it off. And that's when he went to J.P. Morgan and said, "Listen, I'm right." And what Morgan wanted was radio, right? And Tesla had already invented radio-controlled boats, like in the 1880s, right? So he goes, "Can you make that boat thing? You can make it move around. Can you transmit voice over that?" And Tesla said, "Sure. Give me some money. I need to do some research down." And I can't do it here because look what I nearly turned Lower Manhattan into gray goo. So I want to go to Colorado Springs up in the mountains because that's it. And there is nobody there. I have a contract with Westinghouse to put up. Yeah, they built a dam and they want to put hydropower there. So I'm going to go up and do that, but I want some money from you to do the research, and I'll come back with every kind of wireless communication you can even ever think of. And Morgan says, "Great." So again, he has Tesla sign a contract, and and by this time AC has won over Edison's DC. Just out of a business understanding, Morgan told Edison, "Forget about it. You'll get all the credit for everything. You'll be rich. You'll be powerful. But we're going with AC. Sorry, Al. So anyway, so Tesla goes off to Colorado Springs. Now, there's a movie made, and it's about magicians trying to outdo each other, right? And magic in the 1890s, one man's magic is another man's technology. And there was this old guy who was like the greatest magician, but now he's getting old. And he has these two proteges, and they're vying to be the best. and they have a girl they're trying to win her heart. He sees Nikola Tesla have a lecture. He understands what Tesla really is. He's the real wizard. I used to call us in the wizard of Menlo Park, but Tesla was the real wizard. So he writes him a letter and says, "Hey, I want to do such and such. Can you help me out?" What he wanted was he wanted to have a glass box, and he would get in, and they lower a curtain around it, and then a second later the curtain would fall, the glass box would be empty, and a little would happen. And Tesla invents teleportation, right? And where he breaks all the atoms apart, bingo, you're reassembled up there. But what happens is you aren't basically sent there. A copy is made, right? An exact copy. But it's not you, it's an exact copy. And so the movie is, the first part is about the relationship of the master magician, these two young Turks and a girl, and the shows they do, and then they kind of get to a point where they got to do something amazing. That's when he's starting to write to Tesla, and Tesla says, "Well, think about it, see what I can do." And then he sends a letter. It's okay. I figured this out. I need 50 grand. You come with the money. I'll make it happen. And so he sends him the money, and about a month later, he gets another letter. Okay, you should come and see what I got going. So he does. So he takes the train, from New York to Colorado Springs. And who's waiting for him at the station? Nikola Tesla and his buddy. And who's playing Nikola Tesla? But David Bowie. So you guys should rent this movie and watch it, because he's done some great movies. Man Who Fell to Earth, where he plays the Goblin King. He also played this great movie where he was an English soldier in the Bataan Death March. That was a pretty good movie. This one, a whole bunch. He's been in a number of movies. He's actually, always just amazing. But go rent that movie, and I can't think of them. If you were to Google David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla, a movie about magicians, I'm sure it would come up. And the other movie you guys got to go see is Zardoz, which is Wizard of Oz spelled backwards. And that movie had the guy who played the original James Bond. And he quit being James Bond because he didn't want to get typecast. He wanted, So in the 70s, he did a number of really amazing movies. And the most famous one, I think, is The Man Who Would Be King. He did it with Michael Caine. It was about Afghanistan. And that movie really tells the story of Afghanistan. Meaning, if George Bush and those guys had seen the movie, Man Who Would Have Been King. Anyway, so yeah, it's hard to deal with truth, but you got used to it, and that's why you have to serve something more than your ego, so that's why he loves co-creation, which is the only truth there is, a good thing to serve, and to help others realizing that. But don't be waiting for anyone to thank you for that. Most folks want to suffer, want to be in misery, They don't. Exactly. That Jaga, is that the Indian guy? I think it is, right? Paul, Whitebeard. I think he was a doctor because he talks. I mean, the stuff I've read of his and see, it's about health. You know. Yeah, yeah. But the Disco King. I worked at the Fillmore East. I lived on Lower East Side. Again, if you go see a movie across the universe, it's about people living Lower East Side, 60s to the early 70s, and the Summer of Love took in the West Coast in Berkeley, right? And I was there at Earth People's Park, and they found the crappiest place for the homeless guys for them, and they turned it into Garden of Eden. The city came and bulldozed it down, because it didn't have a permit. And Joni Mitchell's little song, they, you know, tore down the forest, put up a parking lot. That was the song she was talking about, and because that's what they did. These people built the Garden of Eden, and the city bulldozed it away and covered it in concrete and turned it into a parking lot. So that's what I'm talking about. You give somebody the Garden of Eden, they're going to tear it down and put up a parking lot. But it has to go through this experience. The beauty about Gaia is no matter how polluted we make it, we just let it come, do its thing. It'll heal everything. So, so I was around all of that. And I'm in that vein. I never went into it. That's the first time I ever smoked a joint. I died. Who do you know who ODs from marijuana? Me. And so I didn't do it a lot, but I would try it out. I tried to smoke it a few more times and realized, okay, you don't do this, you don't do that, just a little puff, and it's like Callie says, all you need is just a little bit. So, and I tried psychotropic, but I mostly stuck to organic things. But in the 90s, I had a friend who was a chemist, and raves were just coming on, and we took raves around the East Coast, and we would find factory buildings, and we'd roll into it, and we'd find interesting people in that town. Usually they were college towns, and they would, we'd say, hey, have you ever been to a rave? And they said, no. Well, there's one going on, 100 miles from here. Let's go to it. So we'd go to them, and like, whoa. And they, do some X and go, right? And so why don't we do it here? There's college here. There's plenty of people who want to do it. Da, 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 da. So I was involved in that, not Disco King. So my gig, I had nothing to do with the business or any of that. I was just, the minister of fun, right? And I would decorate the sound system, and we'd get it up and running, right? And have a really good time, and I would get a nice paycheck and stay there a month or two or three or however long I wanted to stay there. But this guy had a number of really nice. We're way out of the way, off the radar screen, but you could indulge in whatever you want to indulge in, and so I, again, would taste of this, a little bit of that, and realize that I didn't need any of that, because all I need to do is meditate, and that's why I do those guided meditations, and that's why I suggest should go and experience the guided meditations on the channel. Go to Dreamy Dreamland, which you are on right now, and go watch it, right? So anyway, so that's my little take on Tesla, and so back in the 1890s, Nikola, perfected 0-point energy to be industrially used and transmitted wirelessly. He had a place in Long Island called Cliffs, right? And that was an antenna to transmit 0 points, and that's what they do today. All those nuclear submarines, if they had a reactor on board, you could find those things like that, because it takes a lot of water to cool down that reactor. So they'd be sucking it in from the, they're hiding underneath the ice caps in the North and South Pole. All you need is infrared satellite up in the sky. It's really cold. Oh, look at all that heat. Nuclear submarine. Um, you know, the nuclear boat company. You know, the only thing nuclear about them is the missiles, right? So I wanted to read you something. So what I'm doing mostly, .com, and look at some of my novels there. But I'm going to read you a little bit. I hope you enjoy it. Boom, 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 boom. Got my other laptop that I work right on. Ba, ba, ba. Here, look at this. Look at this. But we're getting there. We're almost there. I should have marked this off to begin with. Yep, here we go. Okay. And this is the sixth novel. So there will be a big novel, and then there are little novels embedded in the big novel. And I do this so that later on I can write a bigger novel about that little novel and get you interested in the character, right? So there we go. This is called Everything Made Me Hurt. The bright hum of the fluorescent fixture overhead made both my eyes and my ears sting. The beeping and whirring of the machines that kept me breathing made me want to hurl, but I could not. I was stuck at death's door. But the image of figures in front of me actually made me feel dead guy. Wake up. God wants to talk to you. The machine's keeping me alive. He would have been long gone. Look at him. He is cold and blue. He's already on the other side. Boop, boop, boop. Seeing the moment, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Look at him. He's cold and blue. Without that trachea tube down there, he would not be breathing. LBJ. But he has that spark of love. And with that, Jesus, the Lord of love, placed his hand on my chest, and at once I was made whole. No longer standing of a novel 7. The man of the world, a homo sapient of the universe. There I was. It was 1947.2, and I was staying on a marble floor in my hospital gown on the bridge of the torsion starship in standard synchronous orbit over Lithuania with my ass hanging out. Listen, monkey boy, brother, welcome home. I replied, am I in heaven? LMG said, no, pinhead, you're on a spaceship. LBJ, please, Judas. This is hard enough for him to understand. Brother, please, relax. You have everything you've ever known is a lie. The disc before his time? Oh, of course you don't. Your mind was wiped. Here, let me show you. For what? I am the meat puppet. I think, I observe, I talk to myself. I am in my father's libido's early ejaculation. Before I was a disappointment to my mother's non existent emotional and sexual intimacy, I was a parking lot attendant in heaven. And heaven is a place called Lost Vegas. Vaguest. A place that comes closest to the personifying God's reality, a place where anytime, day or night, you can satiate that itch that just can't be scratched. If that isn't the supreme definition of happiness, see everybody else, or too many advocates of any book of their true word of heaven, and death is more like a slipping out of a tight slipper rather than a final destination of good or evil. There aren't especially any Christians in paradise. Where did God and the angels are believed to dwell? There are no true believers, for that matter. There is no religion in heaven. The only thing we have is faith in Bob's love of love's beauty. I was an angle. That's right. None of us up here are true believers, and I am not sure whether we are up or down or where we are really located. I know it's in an undisclosed location. One thing I'm sure of, all of us angles don't have wings. That's right. All of us angles in heaven are member of a Germanic people who invaded. How can that be? I have no idea. I just have faith in all that is love's unconditional creation. And within that beauty's love, the fact that you see, there are no belief structures to war over in his is a perfection of love's creation. And heaven is all one's love creation. And all that is love is Bob. For there are many utopian beliefs to speak as if they lead to heaven but don't. Utopian beliefs is all things meat puppet. Heaven, God, Bob, heaven is not made in the image and likeness of man's childish ego. God's heaven is unconditional love's incarnate, where Bob is love and love is God, and Bob resides in the faith of all love's creations. There are no dogmatic rules, no collection baskets to send to be fear of losing control over who knows what. No dogma of separation, no theocratic real estate to be held in escrow over any spiritual nature to lose. Well, one day when I retrieved Bob's car, Bob is one of the names God goes by when it goes out and about in human form. God being an all-knowing, it's true from its in let's see. God being all-knowing, its true form is inconceivable. Only an egocentric meat puppet would see the creator of all things as itself. What we don't realize is that we are all Bob. Bob's car that day was a sweet, tricked out 1977 GTO in godlike condition. Bob has more cars than Jay Leno. Anyway, Bob told me, "Yo, Trent, get in. We're going to meet your new earthly human meat puppet family." That should have taken me back, but I was more amazed that it knew my name, for I was just at the moment thinking of changing my name to Trent, for my angle name translated into translated into slimy, stinky meat puppet. Bob said, "Trust me, Trent is much better name than slimy, stinky meat puppet." I asked God, "Bob, what are we doing?" God answered, "I got something for you. Never get bored. You never feel sorry for yourself. No task is too insignificant for you to do with love's grace in your heart. You always make whatever you do fun. You go out of your way to share the fun with others, and that always makes me happy. Whenever I think of you, I think of you as one of my favorite children." Now, I'm not saying I have any favorites, for I love all my creations as if they were my favorite. All I'm saying is, you make me happy when I think of you, and that is good as it gets for me. And I know they need more of that down on earth. Somewhere down on earth, they are getting into a career path that the end of the world is what I want. Who told them that? I know I didn't. Where does some meat puppet get off saying, "I'm down with arming up for Armageddon, up with killing in my name"? Didn't I say that was the first rule? Not to break if you had to have any rules. Everyone says they're so Jesus is my personal savior, but that lucky bastard Jesus of that lucky bastard, so ready to kill anyone who takes a parking spot, let alone smiting everyone their one and only true religion. I have never sanctioned any religion. I gave humanity free will so that they could make their own way through the spiritual evolutionary journey, not to end it abruptly in some cartoon cutout end of time comic strip. That's not my idea for man's reason for life. I am so over some Billy, Jimmy, Larry, meat puppet telling me who I am and what I want. Man's only reason for life is to make God happy, not by following a law, but to achieve love's consciousness. Love's love is not found stuck rigidly to a book, or by killing the heathen, or by bringing forth a rigidly provoked end of times. Of course, I want all meat puppets to achieve love's consciousness, but I don't want them to terminate their lives with some soap opera ending. Meat puppets speak. We must bring forth the rapture by sanctifying the blood of the Lamb with the blood of the evil damned to damnation. If the heathens are not smitten, the end of man's world will come at April 27th, 2010 at 6:50 a.m. So says Jimmy. Jimmy! Oh, so says Jimmy! 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 Now that is a bit too specific. I made the universe based on random perfection of free will. If enough of you meat puppets believe this rot, you will manifest a very negative outcome through the power of intent of your free will. That's what happened during the Dark Ages. Why do you think they call them the Dark Ages? And do you want another 900 years of that? Armageddon will not be any of my doing. It will be solely based on the moron belief of the money grabbing, grubbing, power hungry, tripping meat puppet get into when they are building Moses or Billy's or Jimmy's or Constantine's or Jerry's or whoever's corrupt preacher's empire. My love is not for sale. My love is not only for those who believe they are the true fundamental believers. Bob is not theirs. Bob is of everyone. For everyone is Bob. I am the creator. Bob is love, and love is everyone. For Bob is the creator of all the children, not just some of them. I love talking in the third person about myself. But Bob, I asked, where are we going? What all this is about? And what is the end of it? Bob replied, we are headed to get a drink over at the Horny Dog Titty Bar off of Electra and Eros. We're going to meet up with your clones who opted not to be born to your potential family down on Earth. Two of them have miscarried, and the third wants out of that hole as well. This family seems to be a challenge, especially for the next meat puppet who drops in. This family is a microcosm of the human condition. And just a little point of reference, the family I'm talking about is the one I was born into, that I dropped into. Two of them miscarried, and the third wants out of that hole. We are going, well, yeah, two of them miscarried, third wants out of that hole. This family seems to be a challenge, especially for the next meat puppet who drops in. This family is your spiritual estuary of the Garden of Eden. You have fought tooth and nail to muck it up. Little does your species down there know that you are still in Eden. All they have to do is to live in love's redemption, and they will be home. Your species was meant to live with love in their hearts. It is easy to understand why your species is so lost, surrounded by self-imposed fear of everything, self-doubt, envy, self-loathing, and hate that has no reason nor end, when they have always been standing on the doorstep of salvation. All of your species has to do for redemption, to let go and have fun, to live a life, to love life. No matter how many lucky bastards I send down to earth to lighten things up, the meat puppets down there just nail them to a cross. Then years later, they use their graven image as a business plan to sell soap and war. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. To be a walk into this clown, because three strikes and that spot is out of there. The next time I spot a lucky bastard may not come in time to put things right for the species of the meat puppets. They are just an avatar. They don't have to experience. And that's your soul's experience. Not about making money, not about being famous, not about paying your bills or having your twin flame or children or any of that. All of those things are mechanisms to learn from, not an end into themselves. I was at a loss for words or what to think. Don't worry, it's not that as heavy as it sounds. I wouldn't ask you to do anything I know you could not handle. No worries. I know you will always do the right thing. We stopped in front of the neon light edifice of the perfectly shaped form of Eros, surrounded by hundreds of horny dogs with their little pink erections blinking on and off. Walking through the entrance, the extra large bouncer gave Bob a knowing nod. Over the corner behind the stage was a VIP lounge. Walking past another big bouncer at its threshold, little neon colored bracelets appeared on our wrists, and we were given another knowing nod. Bob said, I've been here before. And Bob said with a smile. Walking past a young uh, walking past another big, but no, let's see. Walking past young, sexually beautiful, erotically writhing lap dancers, engorging their clients, perched in small couched cubbyholes, each pretty face stopped what it was doing to give Bob an intimate greeting. Hi, Bob. Like I said, I've been here before. Bob said with an even bigger smile and knowing wink. Down at the end of the line was a dimly lit cubby with our three clowns, each being twizzled by a totally naked, perfectly formed, large-breasted young lady. Bob cleared his throat, and the young ladies were gone, replaced by a round, low table and two plush red chairs. One of the protest prostate girls returned, fondling herself. Bob, can I do anything for you? With a pop, she was gone, replaced with gin and tonics for all, a box of fine Cubans, and a small burning bush hovering over the table for illumination and lighting of cigars. Bob faced the three clowns with a slightly tilted head and asked, Boys, I hear I have a small... Boys, I hear I have a small rebellion on my hands. Is that true? I thought I could trust one of you to go down there and straighten things out. I mean, straighten things out. Things can't get any more straight than they already are down there. Just look at Jerry Falwell and Mike Pence. The three clowns were stricken with fear of biblical proportions, speechless and frozen, while as white as stone. Bob raised his hand and melted their fear with a smile. Boys, listen, you have a free will. I don't want to make you do anything you don't want to do. Just tell me your reason why you can't at least attempt an outcome at this great opportunity I have offered you. You didn't have to run and hide. And what made you think I couldn't find you? I'm Bob. I'm all seeing, all knowing. Yes, I already knew your reasons, but I want my friend here to hear them. Trent, these are the boys. Boys, this is Trent. With the formalities of introduction over and done with, the three spoke with one whiny and shrill voice. It's too hard. Oh, how am I going to pay my bills? I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a movie star. I'm just the greatest writer, and you want me to read your script, Bob? Oh, no. I want to be famous. That's it. It's too hard. You boys have to do better than that. It's too hard. But that's the fun of it. That's the challenge. Maybe I expected too much from these three clowns named Larry, Jimmy, and Kenny. Jimmy, 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 Jimmy. With the same shrill tone, they answered in one voice, We're not clowns, we're clones. The three not so wise clones were popped gone with the snap of Bob's fingers. I knew those three weren't going to work out. I was just testing out my theory of the male Y. Bob, I never heard of that, I queried. Of course not. I just came up with it right now, this minute. Just think, every dweeb, dork, doodle head have ever created, or I have ever created, was male whose first name ended in a Y. Case in point, those three. Look, Lawrence of Arabia wasn't Larry of Arabia. And Kenny of South Park dies in every episode. And Jimmy Dean sausage really sucks. Can I have a glass of water with a lemon? Okay. I never. Okay, anyway, gang, what do you think? Should I read more or did you get the gist? Because Bob goes on for quite a long time here. My voice is starting to get parched. And there's only 5 of you left. That one. I recycle. So we'll go back. Let's see how long I've been on for 52 minutes. It's almost 1:30. Let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Aaron, experienced. Experience what life feels like. I know. So I say, Aaron was like, wow, this is, yeah. I didn't know what, yeah. Boop, boop, boop. Rhonda, I feel like I do feel love from studying. Yes, because you're going into that space of land. That guy is serving love's co-creation. Rhonda say, and that is the relationship of, I'm actually Santa's younger brother, Bob Claus. I keep the naughty and nice list. See you, buddy. Rhonda Robinson. Hello. Check out Dr. Gabor Mate. Okay. I will. Hello, D. You live. Yeah, my feed keeps lagging. Well, I have no control over any of this. It seems to have straightened itself out a little bit. Yo, Lena. Good to see you, girl. I want to ask you all one thing. Procreation. Well, it's a biological squirrel wheel rolling, basically. Did you ever watch the movie The Matrix? Well, that's why, All right. That's Alex is my server, and I'm ready to pay whenever he is.
Okay, I'll go see if
We're dropping in and out again. So in The Matrix, all these generations living down in Plato's cave.
Let's see. I see him busy out there. I'm just going to take it up.
So, and that's why, Plato knew the movie The Matrix was coming out soon. So he wrote the treatise on the cave. Yep. So that's my take on procreation. Go ahead. Answer later. Smile. Good, thanks. Have we always been like that with lack of experience that makes us like this? Right, because when I was a kid, my parents didn't have the money to get me an Etch-a-Sketch, so they got this thing at the 5 and dime. I loved everything was either 5 cents or 10 cents, and it was a piece of cardboard with a picture of a clown on the side, and it said "Make up your own world." And over the cardboard was a plastic film, and there was like a little stick that had a string onto the thing, and it was like a scribe, and you can draw on the plastic film and lift it up, and the image would go away. So that's our consciousness in not our soul's free will consciousness, but our avatar's free will consciousness. It's like this on the cave is just that. We see this image in front of us that's an illusion, and our necks are like stuck there. We can't move. There she is. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
You're looking great today.
Thank you.
And so that's why they let me stay here. Oh. So what we're meant to do is not stress over any of the irrelevant crap like our material world. And like when people are getting all upset about, you know, global warming, oh, this is just a trend. The planet goes through this stuff all the time. We're just at one of these nexus points. There's not much we're going to do about it. And the powers that shouldn't be have know all of this. They've been, serving the hidden hand for millennia, and they all have been around enough to know this, and they basically are reincarnated via transhumanism, so they remember what happened back then. And that's why it's a mystery. Trigger, yep. And that's so when you take psychotropics, that's you're moving the edge of the frame a little bit, and you can see all this other stuff. So that's why when you go into guided meditation, again, go back to the past shows, go look at the guided meditations I did, and bring forth that experience. You don't need drugs. Just meditate. You have 20% breathe in, 30% breathe out. Illuminate yourself with the prana, ground yourself to the chi. Bingo, bango, there you go. Right. So, what more could I say? So, did you guys like that reading? Did you like the story? It was like Mrs. Gurling in kindergarten reading you a story. So go to xratted.blogspot.com and go read my novels. And I'm working on 6 that some point in there I will be getting them up there. So getting a little tired here. 1 hour and 14 seconds. And it's 1:30. So exactly. And it's how good outcomes. Right? It comes up, oh look, there it is. And then it's at the top and it's coming towards me. And so I got my blinkers on. I'm standing by